All right, so today we're going to take a deep dive into something pretty cool, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, your 1950s vinyl record of Shostakovich's Violin Concerto.
Oh, wow.
We've got some articles and background info here,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to kind of see why this is such a gem in your collection.
Yeah.
And I've got an expert here to help us kind of make sense of everything.
Well, I think one of the most fascinating things about this record is that it's not just a piece of music.
Yeah.
It's really like a snapshot of a very specific moment in history,
Right.
a time of real political tension and artistic resilience.
Yeah, so let's kind of start at the beginning.
Yeah.
Can you kind of paint a picture for us of this concerto's debut?
Okay, so imagine Leningrad, November 29th, 1955.
Okay.
The stage is set for the world premiere of Shostakovich's Violin Concerto
Mm-hmm.
and the legendary David Oistrakh as the soloist.
Now, Oistrakh, he was a big name back then.
Huge name in the violin world.
Yeah.
He was born in Odessa,
Okay.
which is now Ukraine, to a Jewish family, and rose to become, one of the most renowned violinists of his time.
Oh, wow.
Close friends with Shostakovich,
Mm-hmm.
who actually dedicated this concerto to him.
Interesting. So a dedication to a Jewish musician in the Soviet Union at that time?
Yeah.
That seems like a bold move.
It definitely raised eyebrows.
Yeah.
The Soviet Union had this kind of complicated relationship with anti-Semitism.
Right.
So this dedication was more than just a friendly gesture.
Yeah.
It was a public display of support
Wow.
and kind of a challenge to the prevailing political climate.
And it didn't even stop there, right?
No, not at all.
Because just a couple months later.
Yeah, 2 months later, Oistrakh brought the concerto to New York City,
Oh, wow.
performed it at Carnegie Hall.
That's incredible.
From Leningrad to New York. That's amazing.
Yeah, in just a couple of months.
Yeah, it really shows how powerful music is to kind of transcend these borders and ideologies.
Yeah.
And remember, this is like post-World War II.
Right.
The Cold War is simmering. And to have this piece travel between, at the time, what were considered ideological enemies,
Mm-hmm.
it must have felt like a breath of fresh air,
Right.
like a shared human experience in a time of division.
Yeah, makes you wonder what it was like to be in the audience
Yeah.
at either of those, like inaugural premieres, to hear that.
And to fully grasp the impact of it, we need to understand Shostakovich and his career,
Right.
which, was marked by international acclaim,
Okay.
but also periods of really intense scrutiny from the Soviet government.
Yeah, it seems like his relationship with the Soviet authorities was up and down,
Yeah, that's putting it mildly.
Yeah.
He gained initial international fame in 1926 with his first symphony,
Okay.
this piece that showcased his youthful energy and
Mhm.
innovative approach to composition.
So,
But then a decade later, his opera, Lady Macbeth of Mtsensk, really landed him in hot water.
yeah, I remember reading about that. The
Yeah.
official newspaper of the Communist Party, Pravda,
Mhm.
they published some, scathing reviews,
That bathing.
calling it muddle instead of music, if I remember correctly.
They did, and they even used the term formalist to condemn his work.
Now, in the Soviet Union at that time, what did that really mean?
So basically, formalist was a label used to criticize art that was deemed too abstract,
Okay.
too focused on individual expression,
Yeah.
and not aligned with, socialist realism.
Okay.
So it was basically implying that this art was elitist
Interesting.
and detached from the needs of the people.
So it wasn't just a bad review. It was
Yeah.
a political...
It was a denunciation.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for Shostakovich, this wasn't the end of his troubles.
Oh, no.
In 1948, he was denounced again
Oh, wow.
under this Donov Doctrine,
Okay.
which was a cultural policy to enforce this strict ideological conformity in the arts.
Wow.
And it really stifled artistic expression,
Yeah.
led to the persecution of many artists, writers,
Mhm.
who were deemed to be deviating from the approved Soviet aesthetic.
And how did that affect Shostakovich?
He faced severe consequences,
Yeah.
loss of teaching positions, performance bans.
Wow.
Many of his friends and family members were imprisoned
Oh, my God.
or even executed
Uh-huh.
during the Great Terror under Stalin's rule.
So he was carrying a lot of...
He was carrying the weight of fear and uncertainty with him. You
Yeah.
can imagine.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking to think about what he must have gone through.
It is, and yet in the midst of all this turmoil,
Right.
he continued to compose.
Wow.
He produced some of his most powerful, emotionally charged works.
Incredible.
The Violin Concerto, in many ways,
Mhm.
stands as a testament to his artistic resilience
Right.
and his ability to find beauty even in the darkest of times.
Yeah, that's amazing that he was able to create anything at all during that time,
Yeah,
let alone something as beautiful and masterful as the Violin Concerto.
absolutely. And that complexity is what makes it so compelling.
Yeah.
It's not just a beautiful piece of music.
Hmm.
It's a reflection of his personal struggles, anxieties, and his enduring spirit woven into the music itself.
So where do we even begin to, unpack that?
Okay, well, for starters, there's Shostakovich's signature musical motif, the DSCH motif.
ESCH, what's the significance of that?
So it's based on the German spelling of his initials,
Okay.
D-Har.
Right.
And it appears throughout his works
Mhm.
as a kind of musical fingerprint.
Oh, wow.
It's a recurring theme that represents his personal voice, his artistic identity,
Okay.
and in many ways his defiance against those who sought to silence him.
So he was making a statement by including this in the Violin Concerto.
I mean, it's open to interpretation, but a lot of scholars believe the DSCH motif,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the context of his later works,
Yeah.
takes on a deeper meaning, representing his struggle and his refusal to be subdued
Right.
by the political pressure.
Wow, it's like a secret code.
Exactly.
And Daddy didn't know.
Yeah, and that adds another layer of complexity,
Right.
especially for those who understand the context of his life
Yeah.
and the political climate.
Okay, so we've got this recurring DSCH motif representing his voice, his struggle.
Mhm.
But what about the structure of the concerto overall?
Okay, so the concerto is structured in 4 movements.
Right.
Nocturne, scherzo, passacaglia, and burlesque.
Yep.
And each movement has its own distinct character
Yeah.
and emotional weight, taking the listener on this journey through a range of feelings and experiences.
I remember reading that Oistrakh described the Passacaglia movement as lofty, noble, and profoundly contemplative.
He did.
That sounds pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's a particularly powerful movement.
Yeah.
The passacaglia is a musical form where a simple theme is repeated over and over,
Okay.
but each repetition is embellished and developed in different ways.
So like building a tower, brick by brick.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And in Shostakovich's hands, the passacaglia becomes a vehicle for this intense emotional expression.
Okay.
The repeated theme takes on this haunting quality, building in intensity and drama until it reaches this breathtaking climax.
Wow.
It's a moment of catharsis, release,
Hmm.
and some even hear it as a cry of anguish or despair.
And all of this happening
Yeah,
in this tense political climate.
absolutely.
It must have been quite an experience
It would have been, yeah.
for those attending those first performances.
Yeah, and speaking of those first performances, we can't forget about David Oistrakh,
Right.
his crucial role in bringing this concerto to life.
Yeah.
Not only was he a close friend and confidant of Shostakovich,
Mm-hmm.
he was a brilliant violinist who really helped shape the concerto
Right.
during its development.
Yeah.
He even worked with Shostakovich on revisions before the premiere,
Oh, wow.
ensuring that the solo violin part was expressive and virtuosic as possible.
Wow. So we've got this complex,
Yeah.
emotionally charged concerto,
Uh-huh.
a world-renowned violinist,
Yeah.
and this backdrop of political tension.
Right.
And somewhere in the mix, we have your 1950s vinyl record.
Exactly. And that record is a direct link to that time, that place, those people.
Wow.
It's a piece of history that captures not just the sound of the music,
Right.
but the spirit of an era.
It's incredible to think that I can hold a piece of that history in my hands
Yeah.
and listen to the same sounds that audiences did, 70 years ago.
I know, it's pretty amazing.
That's really cool.
And to appreciate the significance of your record,
Yeah.
we need to delve into the world of recordings at that time,
Okay.
especially in the context of the Cold War.
Oh,
So remember that the Soviet Union had a state-owned recording company called Melodia,
okay.
and they controlled everything from recording to distribution.
So it wasn't like today where
Right.
artists can kind of jump between labels and studios.
Not at all. Melodia had a tight grip on the music industry,
Right.
and they used it as a tool for cultural propaganda.
Oh, wow.
Carefully selecting which recordings were released, promoting those that aligned with the Soviet narrative.
So how did Oistrakh's recordings of this concerto end up being distributed in the West
Okay, so
on labels like Angel Records?
yeah,
I mean, wasn't there a cultural barrier between the Soviet Union and the West?
there was, but music became a battleground in the Cold War.
Interesting.
Both sides were eager to showcase their cultural superiority.
Okay.
And Western labels were hungry for recordings of these prominent Soviet artists,
Right.
like Oistrakh.
So music became a pawn in the Cold War.
In a way, yes.
Wow.
The Soviet Union saw this as an opportunity to promote their cultural achievements.
Mm-hmm.
And Western labels saw it as a way to access the talent that was emerging from behind the Iron Curtain.
So it's really fascinating how this 1950s record kind of sits at the intersection of all of this,
It definitely.
artistic expression, political tension, the Cold War.
It does. It really does.
That's so cool.
And that's what makes it so special.
Mhm.
It's not just a recording, it's a historical artifact,
Yeah.
a witness to a very specific moment in time.
I'm starting to see why this record is more than just a piece of vinyl.
Yeah,
It's like a portal to another world,
it is.
which I am now very eager to explore further.
No, we've only just scratched the surface.
Right.
There's so much more to uncover about the concerto itself, its
Yeah.
musical language, its enduring legacy.
Well, this is just the beginning of our deep dive.
Yeah,
And I can't wait to see where it takes us.
I think you'll be surprised by what we find.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay,
Yeah. It really is amazing to think about
I know.
how this piece of music kind of navigated such a
Yeah,
complex political and cultural landscape.
absolutely.
But before we
Yeah,
get too far ahead,
sure.
let's kind of rewind a little bit
Okay.
and dig a little deeper into those movements that we talked about.
Yeah, of course.
Individual movements.
Each movement offers a really unique glimpse into Shostakovich's mind
Right.
and the emotions that he was wrestling with at the time.
Okay, so let's start with the first movement.
Yeah.
The Nocturne, what
Yeah.
kind of atmosphere does that set?
So the Nocturne opens with this kind of hushed intensity,
Okay.
like a whispered confession in the dead of night.
Yeah. Wow.
You know, the solo violin emerges from this delicate tapestry of orchestral sounds,
Mm-hmm.
and its voice is soaring, melancholic,
Okay.
almost like it's yearning for something just out of reach.
Yeah, that sounds really evocative.
It is. There's a sense of beauty and unease at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
This feeling that something really profound is about to unfold.
Okay.
And it's in this movement that we first hear the DSCH motif,
Right.
which adds that layer of personal significance.
Right. So it's like he's introducing himself,
Yeah.
letting us know his voice is going to be
Exactly.
present throughout,
Yeah.
and then boom, we shift into the second movement.
Yeah, then we shift.
The scherzo,
The shirts.
which isn't that typically a more lively movement?
Traditionally, yes.
Okay.
But Shostakovich really subverts expectations here.
Oh, wow.
His scherzo is filled with nervous energy, jarring rhythms, dissonant harmonies
Interesting.
that create this real feeling of anxiety
Yeah.
and unease.
Like the calm of the night was just shattered.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's as if we've been thrust into this world of chaos and uncertainty
Right.
where, shadows are dancing and nothing is quite as it seems.
Which kind of makes sense given,
Well,
the political climate that he was in.
Yeah, absolutely. The scherzo can really be interpreted as a reflection of the turmoil
Right.
and paranoia that was kind of permeating Soviet society at the time.
It's amazing how music can do that.
Yeah.
Capture that kind of emotion and anxiety
Incredible.
of an era.
It is a testament to the power of art,
Yeah.
to transcend words and speak directly to the human soul.
Okay. So we've gone from this
Yeah.
introspective nocturne
Yes.
to the chaotic scherzo.
Right.
And then where do we go from there?
Then we arrive at the emotional core of the concerto,
Okay.
the Passacaglia.
The one that was described as lofty and profoundly contemplative.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's where Shostakovich's mastery of musical form and emotional expression really shines,
Yes,
as we talked about before.
Yeah.
The Passacaglia is built on this repeated theme.
Right.
And in this case, the theme is imbued with a sense of sorrow, but also resilience.
It's like
Yeah.
it's like hearing the same story told again and again.
Yes.
But each time with like a slightly different inflection.
Yeah.
A new layer of meaning.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
The solo violin takes center stage in this movement.
Okay.
Its voice kind of weaving in and out of the orchestral texture, sometimes soaring above, sometimes blending in,
Okay.
but always carrying this weight of this profound emotion.
Oh.
And as the movement progresses,
Yeah.
the theme builds in intensity,
Okay.
culminating in a climax that is both devastating and cathartic at the same time.
That sounds like an amazing journey.
It is,
Yeah.
and it resonates deeply with listeners even today. It's often cited as one of the most moving
Yeah.
and emotionally charged movements in all of his work.
So after that roller coaster,
Yeah.
how does it all conclude?
So it concludes with a burst of sardonic energy.
Right.
In the final movement, the burlesque.
The burlesque?
This movement is marked by its quick tempo,
Okay.
jagged rhythms,
Mm.
and its almost satirical tone.
Okay, so it's like a shift from the more somber mood
It is a shift.
of the Passacaglia.
It is, and there are many interpretations of what Shostakovich might have been trying to convey here.
Okay.
You know, some see it as a forced display of optimism,
Right.
a way of appeasing the authorities who expected Soviet composers
Right.
to end their works on an uplifting note.
So like he's putting on a mask, hiding his true feelings.
Perhaps.
Yes.
Or maybe it's a more subtle form of resistance,
Right.
like mocking the expectations that were placed upon him.
Yeah.
The burlesque is full of irony and ambiguity, leaving the listener to really ponder its true meaning.
It's like he's saying, I can write a happy ending,
Yes.
but look closer. There's something else going on here.
Exactly. And that ambiguity is part of what makes Shostakovich's music so fascinating.
Right.
He was a master at layering these meanings and leaving clues
Yeah.
for the listener to decipher.
He's like a musical puzzle box
Exactly.
that's waiting to be opened.
The more you know about the context,
Right.
the political climate, the musical language,
Yeah.
the more pieces of the puzzle fall into place.
Which brings us back to this 1950s vinyl record.
Yes.
It's not just 4 movements.
Yeah.
It's a window into this composer's mind,
Exactly.
who's grappling with all of these
Absolutely.
and finding ways to express them through his art.
And it's a reminder that music can be so much more
Yeah.
than just entertainment.
Yeah.
It can be a powerful form of communication,
Right.
a way of preserving history, a source of profound emotional connection across time and space.
It's like we're having a conversation with Shostakovich,
Yeah.
and we're hearing his joys,
Yeah.
his sorrows, his anxieties, his triumphs,
It's all woven in there.
all in this one piece.
Yeah.
That's really incredible.
And to think that this music was able to transcend the borders of the Soviet Union,
Right.
to reach audiences in the West, to
Yeah.
find its way into your collection.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It's a testament to the enduring power of art to connect us all.
It really makes you appreciate the journey that this record has taken, from that recording studio to my turntable today. It makes me wonder,
Yeah.
who else has listened to this record over the years?
Yeah.
Who owned it? What are their stories?
I know, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Your record might have been, a cherished possession.
Right.
Passed down through generations of music lovers.
Yeah.
Or it could have been tucked away
Right.
in a dusty attic,
Yeah.
waiting to be rediscovered,
Yeah.
given new life.
Yeah. It's like this record has its own history,
It does.
its own journey.
Yeah,
And now it's part of my story.
it is.
That's pretty cool.
And that's the beauty of collecting vinyl.
Yeah.
They're not just recordings.
Right.
They're objects with a past, a present, and a future.
Right. Yeah.
They carry the echoes of other lives, other
Yeah.
experiences,
Yes.
other times.
Wow. That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's like a reminder that we're all part of something bigger,
Mm-hmm.
connected through time,
Absolutely.
through shared experiences.
It is.
And for this record, it's a connection that spans continents and ideologies
Yes.
and generations.
Beautifully put.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great note to conclude our deep dive.
Yeah, I think so too.
We've explored the historical context,
Right.
the musical language, the recording technology,
Yeah.
the cultural impact,
Yeah.
and uncovered some fascinating insights.
Yeah. This has been really cool.
I hope this deep dive has really enriched your understanding of
Right.
this piece,
Yeah,
giving you a new appreciation for the stories that your record holds.
it really has.
Yeah,
I feel like I've learned a lot and also kind of gained a deeper connection
that's great.
to the music and to the people who,
Yeah,
created it
yeah.
and preserved it.
And who knows? This might just be the beginning
Right.
of your Shostakovich exploration.
Yeah.
There's a whole world of his music waiting to be discovered.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining me on this journey. This has been awesome.
The pleasure was all mine. Until next time.
Okay. Sounds good.
Keep exploring.